Welcome to Firearms of America. Today, as you guys can see, I have another pair of Salomon boots for the review, and these are Salomon Outline Mid GTX. This is a newer line from Salomon, so I was definitely very excited to test them out. Currently around $150 on Amazon. Not a lot of reviews, almost 100 reviews. Good reviews, almost 5 stars, so people do like them. And overall, to give you a brief introduction, I definitely do like them overall. They're very lightweight, very comfortable, and of course, you probably already know that these are GTX, yes, Gore-Tex waterproofing. Alright, let's get into the reviews. Some of you already know this review is specifically for my Ultimate Survival Boots section. Basically, if this was your last boot that you put on and something bad happened, a riot, a pandemic, and you had to leave your house and walk, run, fight all the way to survive, do everything that's needed to survive, would this be a good boot to survive in? So, how do we make the judgment? We make the judgment based on 8 different criteria. Let's get into the first one. Criteria number 1, comfort level. Of course, in order to test the comfort level of all the boots that I review on this channel, I do a 3-mile run without stopping, and then right after that a 5-mile walk, again no stopping. Total wear time is about 7 to 8 hours. So I found this boot very comfortable. There are a few factors that contribute to the comfort level. Let's get the very first one out of the way. Probably one of the more important ones is the weight, and the weight of these boots, this is size 10 by the way, 13.3, and this is very impressive. Now, I always say, if you want a truly light boot that you can run in, that you can wear without any kind of restriction of the movement, you want to look for something that is under 20 ounce. This is well below 20 ounce. This is only 13 ounce. Extremely impressive, extremely lightweight. I absolutely love the weight of this boot. There are a few other criteria, of course, factors that contribute to the comfort level. Is of course one of them the inner sole, and as you can see, this is not your regular size inner sole. This is actually thinned out inner sole to kind of save on weight even more, and this is from Ortholite, which is a special inner sole that kind of prevents from bacteria developing in there, and there isn't really any kind of cushioning, any additional cushioning on the bottom after you remove the inner sole. There's not a lot of cushioning in the inner sole itself, but nevertheless, because the boot is very light, and if you are running properly, this is going to be definitely good enough to protect you from impact. Of course, just like with most Salomon boots, you do get that wraparound feeling whenever you put your foot in, and there is actually, you know, the top of the toe box is very soft here, which is this very nice and soft fabric. So you have that wraparound feeling, you have that softness of the fabric that contributes to comfort as well. Of course, the tongue, as you can see, somewhat unique. Most of the times it's much more solid in a way, or much more rigid. Here, as you can see, it's really just a very nice soft material. Again, definitely contributes to the comfort level, definitely contributes to the lightness of the boot. Some people might not find this boot as supporting. However, I wanted to point out here, despite all of this softness and lightness, you do have a very decent amount of padding here in the ankle area, in the shaft, which is very nice. Contributes to the protection, which we will talk about later, and of course contributes to the support of your ankle, which contributes to the comfort level. Everything contributes to everything. And you probably already noticed this cutout here in the back of the heel, which also contributes to the comfort level, especially whenever you're running. Definitely a great boot if you're planning to do some trail running and you want a mid-size boot instead of a trail running shoe, which I personally do prefer because you do have that much extra of the protection in the shaft. But since we are talking about the protection, let's move on to the criteria number 2, which is proofing and protection. Now, regarding the proofing, I already mentioned that these boots are GTX, Gore-Tex. That's a Gore-Tex waterproofing that is implemented on a lot of different boots, and Salomon, they often have their boots with Gore-Tex. Speaking of the protection, you don't have a lot of anything going on here in the toe box. As you can see, it is very soft. There is this little rubbery design going, kind of adding to something extra over this fabric. However, not much to kind of give you a peace of mind. So keep in mind, you know, this is not a protective toe in any way. If you drop anything on it, you will definitely feel it. Now, I already mentioned that there is extra padding, which I really do like, on the ankle, so you do have some ankle protection. Heel, of course, you do have a reinforced heel, pretty good. And of course, the Conta grip outsole, which we will talk about later, featuring that really tough layer of rubber, gives you a lot of protection from the bottom as well. But we will talk about the outsole later. So overall, this boot, if you like more of the protection, this boot is not very protective, right? It's more towards the lightness. So keep that in mind. Let's move on to the criteria number 3, quality and the design features. Now, regarding the quality, I have personally a few Salomon pairs of Salomon boots that I use on a weekly basis at least, and have not had any quality issues with them. Now, the only quality issues that I had with Salomon were the sizing. This one, however, no problems with the size at all. Regarding the build and the quality of the build, you can see that everything looks good. Of course, some of the features, which I will mention in the features, they are built in a way to save weight, so it might kind of look a little bit sketchy, but we'll talk about it later. And of course, some of the design features, and this is where I'll talk about some of the things that you kind of might have questions. For example, these hooks, right, the string hooks, as you can see, they are made from the material sewn into the boot. Now, that might seem a little bit like a little bit sketchy, because you would think, you know, material hooks sewn into the boot might not be as practical, might not be as heavy duty, right? But again, keep in mind that this boot was designed with lightness in mind. So the designers, they try to make as many things lightweight as possible, and this of course saves on a lot of weight. Okay, so done with that, let's move on to the outsole, traction and stability. This is where we talk about obviously the outsole, and I definitely do like this outsole a lot. Now, it's very similar to a lot of other Salomon boots, for example Ultra 3 Mid GTX, whatever the order of those things is, I always confuse that. Very, very similar outsole, and probably one of the best outsoles that you can find, because as you can see, it features a lot of flatness. So you will be definitely fine on sandy surfaces. The sand is not gonna get stuck anywhere in the grooves, but at the same time you do have a lot of aggression as well, because these grooves, they are very aggressive. So wet grass, trail surface, rocky road, asphalt, tarmac, pretty much all the flat surfaces that I have tested these boots on, they perform very, very well. Now, the only surfaces that I did not test these boots on, for a few reasons, snow and ice. Well, first of all, I live in Florida, so I didn't have a chance, but I would not recommend this boot for snow and ice situations anyway, because they're not designed to be insulated winter-proof boots. These are more for warm weather, chilly weather. Maybe you can get away with some insulated socks, but not winter, because they are with the lightness in mind. Again, keep that in mind. And that brings us to the criteria number 5, which is the temperature. Kind of briefly already mentioned, these are not designed for winter, for cold temperatures. Keep that in mind. However, if for whatever reason you got these boots and you were wearing them in the winter, let us know in the comments below. How do they perform on ice, snow, and cold? Okay, so let's briefly mention the criteria number 6, the sizing. Like I said, these do run true to the size. I always get my boots in half a size bigger than my normal shoe size. So my normal shoe size is 9.5. These are 10. Just to give you a little bit of extra space here in the toe box, definitely helps whenever you're going down the hill. Remember, the impact is gonna fatigue you fairly quickly. So keep that in mind. All right, let's move on to the criteria number 7, the balance of application. Now, as I said, this review is specifically for my ultimate survival boots, right? And here in balance of application, we kind of summarize everything. If this really was your last boot, you put it on and bad stuff happened, and now you're wearing these boots trying to survive. Would this be a good boot? I think for my personal preference, this would be a fantastic option. Probably one of the best options personally for me, because I do prefer that lightness. I would rather have less protection, but lighter boot that I can walk for as long as I can possibly without slowing me down. That I can run in, again, with the same ease, with the same comfort as a sneaker, but do have some features of the boot like GTX waterproofing, like some ankle protection and ankle support, of course, and of course your very nicely balanced outsole that is really ready for really anything you throw at it. This is going to be good at. So I think this is really a great option. Now, if you're a type of person that prefers more protection over lightness, doesn't mind sacrificing that lightness, of course you might not be happy with, you know, the toe being too soft, and of course ankle protection, while you do have some, is really not as much as some other boots do offer. But again, you know, it really depends. I think it comes down to really trying different things, right? Try hiking in a heavy boot for a long time, and you might wish that you had lightness instead of protection. And the very last criterion here is, of course, the price. Like I said in the beginning, these boots are currently $150 on Amazon. The link is in the description below. Personally, I think that is definitely a fair price for this boot, considering that they do feature Gore-Tex. My personal not preference, but more of a wish, is to see these boots, the same exact boot, the same exact, you know, everything, the outline, Salomon Outline, without Gore-Tex, but with ClimaSense, which is the waterproofing from, or Clima Shield, whatever it's called CSWP, CS waterproofing from Salomon. It's not a separate third-party company like Gore-Tex doing the waterproofing. It's the Salomon themselves doing the waterproofing. In my personal experience, that CSWP worked perfectly fine, but what you get with it is you get a much cheaper boot. Usually at least $50 cheaper than the GTX version. And I think if you can get these boots for $100 without the Gore-Tex but with the CSWP, I think it's an absolute steal for what you're getting, for the lightness, for the comfort, for the outsole. It's just a great boot. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what you think about this boot, what you think about this review. If you have any suggestions or comments, definitely let me know. I will be very happy to address those. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. I usually put them in my to-do list, and as soon as I get around, you know, the boots, I review them in, of course, in that order as a priority. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. This was Firearms of America. I'll see you guys in the next video.